So typically they will speak in a fashion that is constantly looking for you to trust me. Trust this. I know. Even if I don't provide a source. Even if there is no source. You can just simply rely on what's called dat yachid, an opinion of one. Over the last several years, we've been fighting this Manis Friedman and his plague that he's brought into our nation, telling people that one of the ways that he justifies that there is no reward and punishment that is like what the sages teach, that is like the 13 principles of fate, but rather a reward and punishment that he invented out of his small mind, is because God needs you. Meaning, he outright says that no Jew will be punished by God, regardless of what they did, because we've been in the exile for the last 2,000 years. And one of the ways that he qualifies this is because he has concluded that God needs you. Now, we have brought endless amount of sources of why this is completely heretical to say, heretical to think, and in fact, the Gemara mentions in Masechet Kiddushin that the sins that a person makes, certainly will be punished. The sins that a person thinks about, he won't be punished, unless it's idolatry. If you think about idolatry, that's a punishable sin. Thinking about idolatry is punishable. Whereas everything else, if you think about it, it's not punishable. Only if you do it. See, here this guy is telling us all types of idolatrous statements that God needs you, and we've brought endless amount of sources of why this is literally the opposite of Torah. It's wrong according to all opinions, but they continue fighting on with all of this, and he even has some new help from other rabbis, from other students of his, that say this is the truth. Now, anyone that's been following my lectures can probably count the number of sources that we brought over the years, and it's certainly many. If I had to estimate, it's no less than 50, possibly even more than 100 sources that we've brought of why this is completely forbidden to think that God needs you. And any time somebody has mentioned it throughout the generations, they've explained what that means. And it certainly never means what he says and what his followers say, regardless of whether they are rabbis in the yeshiva in Israel or they are some rabbi that's in Boca Raton or in New York or wherever they are. No one can provide an actual source. And that's what we've said all along. Now, you would think that if it was so simple to prove their point, since they're writing books about it, since they're preaching it in practically every single video, every lecture, you would think they would give you literally a source list that's no different than your to-do list for tomorrow to start off the week. They would give you source after source after source after source after source of different great sages that believe that God needs you. But until this day, not a single source has been brought by any rabbi. And any sources that were brought by them are not understood the way they brought them by anybody else other than them. Meaning they manipulated the speech, manipulated the language. No one says God needs you. They understand it that way, but that doesn't make it a source. That just simply means you don't know how to learn. Or you don't know how to understand this particular source. Or you're simply looking so hard for something, you've simply invented it. Just like the Christians, they're looking so hard for Yoshke in the Torah that they simply invent him in different places in the Torah. They invent him in Isaiah 53, they invent him in Daniel 9, they even invent him in Bereshit. They invent him everywhere. Why? Because they're looking so hard for this lie they can't find. So they don't want to disappoint anyone, they simply invent it. So these people have invented this God needs you thing. Now, unfortunately, they have followers. They have financial support. They have people believing them. But they don't have sources. And if it was so simple, and it was so fundamental, then how come it's so hard to find a source? And even more so, how come Manis Friedman himself recently said publicly for the first time, when he was interviewed by his Talmud, is it possible that what you're saying is a dat yachid? Meaning, is it possible that what you're saying is the opinion of one? Meaning, this is only your opinion? And he says, yes, it's very much possible that this is only my opinion. Which in itself proves every single thing we've said about this since the beginning. Because here he's outright telling you he doesn't have a source. He's the only source. And by the law of the Torah, that makes it not valid. Why? We don't follow Dat Yechid. We don't follow the opinion of one. There's no such thing as following the opinion of one. There are rules to interpreting the Torah, understanding the Torah. And if your opinion, regardless of whether it's an opinion about an halacha or even a midrash, it cannot be Dat Yechid. So, the average person that doesn't know this stuff won't clock this, won't see this, won't understand the significance of this. And one of the biggest reasons is because the crooks know how to present their lies in the best possible way. They put lipstick on it, they put him with bow ties, they put him in a nice suit, and the lie looks pretty. So pretty, you want it. You like it. It's like that article that they wrote on the Chabad website years ago about Gehenna. There was so many lies in that article that when I read it for the first time, I wrote to them, I want to go there. I want to go to that Gehenna that you wrote about, because the Gehenna that I know about, the Gehenna that all the sages talk about, has nothing to do with this. Whatever you're writing, I want to go there. Hopefully my Gan Eden is like that. They removed my comments and stopped responding to my emails after that. So, the lies, unfortunately, have customers. Chazon Ish says the following. He says that